Today, we're delving into a conversation that might just change the way you start your day. In this two-part series, I'm joined by TMSS teacher Dennis Kubat, whose journey from athlete to mindset-driven educator has reshaped how he approaches life and how it shaped his experience as a teacher. We're unpacking what mindset really means, not as a buzzword, but as a set of small, repeatable strategies that can transform confidence, energy, and resilience. From morning routines that win the day, to building confidence in students who struggle with self-belief, to simple ways we as teachers, students, and humans can shift from fixed to growth. This episode is full of practical strategies you can try tomorrow. So if you're ready to learn something new, let's join the conversation with Dennis, as it's all about leveling up your mindset, one small habit at a time. Let's get started. Welcome to Northeast Voices, a podcast that spotlights the innovators and change makers in education. We're here to share the stories of inclusion, empowerment, and the impactful connections with the Northeast School Division and beyond, focusing on the pivotal role of students, families, and teachers. Join us as we dive into the conversations revealing the strategies and moments shaping the future of education. Any Voices is your platform for inspiration and connection, and is recorded in the Northeast School Division, sharing the land of Treaties 4, 5, 6, and homeland of the Métis in Northeast Saskatchewan. Be sure to subscribe and join our community of innovators and change makers. Let's get started. Welcome back to Any Voices. I'm here with Dennis Kubat, who works at TMSS. Dennis is here to talk to us today about education and mindset and what we can do to help ourselves stay healthy and move forward and level up each day. So welcome to the podcast, Dennis.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph, for having me.
So do you want to give us a little bit of background about what you teach? I know we met years ago when you were teaching in Hudson Bay and you're now teaching in Tisdale. So tell us a little bit about what you're teaching and what started you on this health and wellness and mindset journey.
Yeah, for sure. I think it goes back to even me being kind of an athlete and playing hockey, and even going back to when I was in college. I ended up playing hockey my first year and then kind of decided that wasn't for me, but still went to school and got my education degree. And from there, got the opportunity to kind of talk to people and talk to kids and students, and then realize that, hey, education is something I want to do. And then from there, like you said, got my degree, ended up at Hudson Bay for 3 years, and then I've now been in Tisdale the last 10. In the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to teach full-time gym, so grade 6, 7, 8, 9 middle school. And that has really allowed me just to kind of reflect and realize, like, confidence and just having a positive mindset and positive self-talk are all things kids struggle with. So I got the opportunity to talk to my principal and take a PD with a guy named Brian Kane. And so I did that it took me about 6 to 8 months to complete, just on the mindset. And that allowed me the opportunity to develop some strategies and some skills that have helped me with students, with myself personally, even my relationships, my coaching, and all that. So it's been a big time positive from there, and I think something that we all need.
I would agree, and thinking about it from the education perspective, like you said, and it really ripples out into so many different parts of our lives. Once you pick up those habits and strategies, then we start to see how that ripples out. It impacts the people that we interact with, impacts how we see ourselves in the world. I know one of the things that you mentioned that you've worked on, and we should go back and circle back to earlier in the fall at our NETA, our Northeast Teacher Association convention. You had a session that you'd offered on energy and mindset and wellness for teachers, and it was probably one of our best attended sessions at convention. People were super excited to be able to go and hear from you. And so I think there's a lot of us out there that have a lot of things happening during the day at school. Teachers make a lot of decisions during the day. They interact with a lot of people. They go home, they have family, they have kids that are involved in different things. And I know you have some young children, and as they get older, they just keep doing more things and they get busier. And sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. And we all know that it's important to look after ourselves. Like they say on the airplane, it's important to put the air mask on you first so that you can help others. So what are some of the things that, I guess what we'll explore today is what are some of the things that we can do to help ourselves, which enable us to help others. But let's dig into what does mindset mean? Because a lot of people are maybe saying, okay, are we talking growth mindset, fixed mindset? What difference does that really make? So let's dig into what does mindset mean?
For sure. I think I'll just start with kind of like a story. I think
Perfect.
stories are big in just being able to tell like through the mental game. So I'll use you in this example. So
Right?
this is how I started thing with Netta as well. So it starts with, so Steph, I've been watching you for the last 2 months, and I think you're really ready for this job. This job's going to pay you lots of money. It's
Mhm.
higher than the Navy SEAL, higher than the military. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly you down to San Diego. When you're in San Diego, you have to complete this fitness test, and then the job is yours. So you're excited. You make your trip,
Yeah.
go down to San Diego, and like you rock everything. You're the number one in the burpees. You're number one in the 10K,
Yeah.
number one in the 1K. So just before you're going to leave, the secretary goes to you and she's like, Steph, you got one last thing to complete, and the job is yours. So you're like, oh, I'm tired. I've been through this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do this. She's like, it's 20 seconds, but it's a psychological test. And you're like, psychological? Are you kidding me? I've been tired. I just can't do it. She's like, it's
Yeah.
only 20 seconds, so I'll give it a try. So the test is you got 20 seconds to make as many triangles as you can. So the teachers did that, made triangles, and scores were
Yeah.
like 20, 30, 40.
Yeah.
Some got a little higher, but most were in that range. So then we talked about, well, in order to complete this test, you need to make 80 triangles. But since you did so good on the fitness test, I'm going to fly you back home, and then I'll give you 2 weeks to practice, and then I'll
Right.
send you back. So get sent back, baby. Your husband says, hey, you maybe need a better pen. So you practice for
Right.
a bit. Now maybe you had 20 to begin. Now you're at 25.
Yeah.
And maybe your daughter goes and says, hey, you just need to practice more. So you
Yeah.
practice more. And now you're up to 30, but you're like, I need 80 triangles. How am I going to get to 80? I'm only at 30.
Yeah.
So you have this one really smart friend. So you give her a call, and whenever she has a problem, she's not going to stop until she figures out a solution. So she's
Right.
up for 3 straight days trying to figure this out. And she finally gives
Mhm.
you a call. She's like, Step, I think I have the answer. What
Yes.
if we draw 5-sided stars? They're like, yeah, that would give me 5 triangles each time. So now you're excited. So you're
Yeah.
going back to San Diego and you're ready to complete this test. So we give you another 20 seconds to complete it. And at this time, all the teachers figured out the issue. I went through the story with them and then
Yeah.
did the 20 seconds and completed it. And then we were getting scores about 100, 110, 120.
Yeah.
So then they ended up getting the job. But the moral of the point of the story was that, as I think even in the mental game, I can give you the strategies to be successful. So mental game is more just finding out what strategies are
Right.
going to work for you. So I almost call it like life is not a talent game. Life is a strategy game. We all got our education degree as teachers. Now it's what strategies are going to help us become more successful in life. First, we got to help ourselves before we're going to be able to help anyone else. So what strategies can we do to help us? And then in the same time, what strategies can we do to help others? So that's kind of my big thing, is just giving teachers, or if I'm working with athletes, giving athletes different strategies in the mental game on things that they need that are going to hopefully help them down there.
I like that story. And once we have the strategy, then it makes it so much easier in some cases to apply that and to keep going. So when we're talking about mindset, I know one of the things people listening might have heard about is fixed mindset versus growth mindset. So fixed mindset, we believe we're kind of stuck in that. This is how we are. I'll always be this. If we're working with students, sometimes we see I'm an MM, or students sometimes link that to the mark, and they think no matter how hard I try, I just can't grow from there, versus somebody who's in more of a growth mindset where they believe that they can level up, that they're not there yet. They have different sort of self-talk. Is there any suggestions you have for people to kind of switch from one to the other? Like they've got some strategies or anything that you want to add on sort of that fixed versus growth mindset before we dig into a few more of the strategies?
I think with that, I think everyone has the ability to go from a fixed to a growth mindset. And I think as educators, like we talked about strategies, we have to come up with ways on how we can get our students there. For example, I look at my grade 9 students in Phys Ed. At that age, they're sometimes just lacking confidence and lacking positive self-talk. So for me, instead of me saying, "Oh, these students are not motivated, they're not going to get it," and now as an educator, I have to look at myself. How can I get these students from this fixed mindset of I can't do this to growth? And I think a lot of it comes down to confidence and giving them a say. So, for example, this month till December, I am letting the students run each and every class. So, two of them are going to have the opportunity to run the
Yeah.
class each day. They will let me know the lesson. And then from there, I will have my learning intentions and be able to tell them what I'm going to mark on them. But giving them kind of the say, I think, is a good start on just, hey, hopefully this can help them that way. I find sometimes as a student, we get into classes and we're sitting lots. Maybe we're doing questions and answers lots. And I want Jim to have the opportunity to be free, be yourself for 45 minutes or an hour. Just be you. Don't have to worry about what someone else is thinking or just being able to do it. And I think if we give them a little thing, hopefully we'll see how it goes. It's a trial run for a month, but I
Yeah.
think it's an opportunity for students to have a say. Plus, we're still meeting the expectations that me as a teacher want, but giving them the class that way. So we've done a couple lessons already and it's done well. And I think we can see just growth there by just having that confidence and just having that movement, just having that positive energy in class. Because I think if we can have that energy, a movement, it's going to go a long way.
And I noticed you said confidence, that's important, and it's a skill that we can grow, we can continue to build confidence. It's not something that's fixed and you have it or you don't. That will continue to grow. I like what you said about choice. And what the outcomes are in your phys ed class, and you can guide your students through that. But the ability for them to have that choice and that voice in where it goes, we all want to be heard. And the more that we're part of that, then that engages us more as the learner. The other thing I heard you mention was movement. And a lot of the research talks about when you're feeling a little bit stuck, or if you've been sitting for a long time, one of the fastest ways to get your brain going again is to get up and get moving, right? Whether it's, doing squats in your office or taking a break, or we see classes doing body breaks during the day. So have you noticed anything interesting about when you get the students moving or when you see adults start to move, how that sort of shifts some of the mindset?
For sure. And I always use the motto like it's always important to like get a sweat on before screens. If I'm working
Yes.
with the client, I'll always try and say that because at the end of the day, like for example, I run in the morning. It's not like I'm, oh sweet, I get to go for a run right now.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't want to do it, but as soon as I get moving and started, motivation begins.
Yes.
That's a big thing there. And kind of same with students. It's just give it 5 minutes. Let's give it a try. And most of the time, then that motivation will start. And obviously, it's easier for some than others. And it's, I think, you have the teacher and say, why is that student not doing anything and sitting there, Jim? What ways can I maybe get them to move? Maybe it's not, hey, we're doing a 3 minute jog and you only have to walk. That's 100% okay. Let's just get some movement there and start building steps. And then hopefully maybe we can get 30 seconds of running or what, so on and so on. But it's just having those strategies. And I think for us as teachers, I think I'm big on just like, for example, routines and habits. So I think it's really important in your morning to have a good AM routine. And we talked about this a lot in our conversation we had with the teachers and just developing a structured AM routine. And for example, if I win the morning, I call. So before I get to
Yes.
school, if I can win the morning, I am going to be 100% better teacher than if I am not doing those things. So like, for example, mine is I like to get up early. So I up at 5 a.m., have my opportunity to have my coffee right away. Then I go for my run and then I listen to a little 2, 3 minute mindset conversation before the kids are up. And then I get to be dad while my wife then has the opportunity to do her workout before we go to school. Is it going to work perfect every day?
Yeah.
No, But if I can do those things most days and win that morning, like I said, it makes me just that much better and gives me that much more motivation and energy throughout the day. So that was a big thing that we really talked about, and just having those things, and talked about just maybe it's one thing that I do. Maybe it's 10 minutes of me time I'm starting with. You don't have an AM routine. It's not like, hey, I need to do this. I have 5 things. It's not going to work. Let's just start small, add one thing, okay, for a month. We've done that. Now let's move on to another thing to add. And then you just kind of gradually go from there. Oh, I'm struggling. I need another month to complete this. It's just not happening yet. But I think we have to set ourselves up as teachers to be successful. And I think it starts with just having good routines, AM. And then, like I talked about, even like a PM checklist, I call it. So, for example, I have to have these things completed before I go to bed, which in the meantime is then going to help me with my AM routine. Like if I have my clothes laid out in the morning ready to go,
Yeah.
as soon as I wake up, they're right there. If I have my coffee, all I got to do is hit the start button, right? I always have like my dog dish ready where I put it down just to feed the dog.
Yeah.
Know what I'm going to have for supper that day before I get up. My day is scheduled. Like I know exactly what I'm going to do. It takes me about 10 minutes to complete, but it sets me up to be successful the next day. So in that meeting we had with those teachers, we talked about those things. And I think that's a huge strategy on just having a positive outlook and just taking those worries and those things off your plate instead of being 4 o'clock, you're leaving for school and you're like, well, what the heck am I going to have for supper? My kids got hockey, they got this.
Mhm.
And let's try and prepare for those things where we talk about like preparation. Preparation is huge. So if we can prepare ourselves to be our best version plus know what we are doing, I think it goes a long way in having success. And I've been doing it the last 8 to 10 months. Noticed a huge difference in just how much energy and just how excited I am to like attack the day.
And we don't always wake up and super motivated. I also get up at 5 to work out, and that didn't happen overnight. It takes a while to build up, and you have to decide. I think that it all often starts with that decision. You have to make a decision that you're going to try. You're gonna try to get up at 5. I never would have said I would be the person to get up at 5 and do that, but it makes a difference, like, when you get up and how you start your day, and do you always want to? No, I can relate to that, where sometimes I have a whole conversation with myself about, "Just get out of bed, the clothes are already ready," and I think what you said about preparation is really important, and I remember hearing a quote that was like, "What can I do right now that future Stephanie will thank me for later?" So what will your future self thank you for that you could do right now, whether that's set out the clothes for tomorrow's workout, get the coffee ready, lay out what you're going to wear, because that little bit of extra cognitive load on a busy morning when the kids are needing different things, all of that can take away some of that energy so you can redirect it and shape the environment. So often the research talks about if you can shape the environment, then it makes it easier for your habits or you can stack your habits. So for example, you wake up and you have your coffee, that's the first kind of in the trigger of what comes next. There's coffee, and then you said there's running. So you can slowly start to stack all of those pieces together. And so when you're thinking about in a morning routine, so you mentioned having an AM routine, and not everybody has to get up earlier or do those types of things. Is there in the training and the education that you've been going through in your experience anything that's really helpful to have in a morning routine? Or if I was going to start anywhere, what would be sort of the one piece that might have the most impact that I could build in? And I love the 10-minute idea. My workout minimum is every day has to have a 10-minute minimum of movement. And as long as that goes, my streak is intact. And so whether that's, you're on the road and that's 10 minutes of yoga or it's a full hour and whatever workout, it's always trying to get that 10 minutes. And I know you mentioned the 10 minutes. So if I was to start a morning routine and I didn't really kind of have one that included any time for me, is it movement? Is it that 10-minute or some mindset work? Do you have one that would be kind of the easiest starting point for people?
Yeah. Everyone's different, but I think it's really important, like just to get that 10 minutes of like movement. Yeah. Those that love reading, like The Morning Miracle is a great book as well that talks a lot about just habits and things you can do in the morning. But I think getting that movement, like you say, like mine's obviously different. I sit down and bring coffee before I go for a run, but
Yeah.
I think it's really important to just make sure you're getting a little bit of a sweat, a little bit of movement before getting on those screens. And like you said, even if it's 10 minutes of stretching or 10 minutes of yoga or meditation,
Mhm.
anything just to get a little movement going, I think would be a great start for a lot of people. And I know everyone's like, we're busy, but I know there's 10 minutes in everyone's day if they are scheduling it and have good time management skills that, hey, we can start with this. And another good strategy along those lines is I think anything we do, if we are not like tracking it, it's tough for us to get those results. So we talked about an app, it's called Habit Share. So this
Okay.
app allows you to kind of track whatever you would like. So for example, in there I have like my AM routine, PM routine, make sure I text mom and dad every day, like those little things. And it literally it tells you if you click red, you didn't do it, green, you did it, gray, maybe you don't
Right.
have to do it that day, depending. And it's a great way for, hey, if me and you were working together, hey, you want to be my accountability partner? I'll be yours. I can
Yeah.
share it with you so you know exactly if I did it that day.
Yeah.
So I could send you, hey, Steph, awesome job. I see you did your AM routine and did your run,
Yeah.
this and this, whatever it was. And it just having that accountability partner is huge that way. So I think if we are able to actually track and schedule what we're doing, we're going to have a lot more success. So even if that is 10-minute of movement in the morning, that's my goal for the month of December and January.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of green because I'm doing that and I can see it on Habit Share. Oh, I still have 10 more minutes in that morning where I can do some
Yeah.
things. Or, hey, now I'm going to get up 10 minutes early and try something else. And I think they will be happy with the results if they do it. Like you said, when getting up at 5 was awful for me for a while,
Yeah.
and it's tough. And now it's just like as soon as it goes 5 o'clock, like it, or 5 in the morning, it just seems once you're in that routine, it's like a habit now. So, um,
Yes.
like I
Yeah.
just know I need to do those things to have success. So now it's almost like, well, how could anyone want to do it any other way? So that's kind of like where I'm like passionate about. Like I
Yeah.
know it works. It works for me. Is it going to work for everyone else? No, but I think if we can start some of these habits, it's going to have a lot of success in the long run.
And building those habits, you have to consciously shift some of those. And you said, like, it's 10 minutes. We all have 10 minutes, and you can gain that 10 minutes by the night before. Like, some of those things that you can do before you go to bed, sometimes I get stuck in the scrolling, but you think, "I'll just do the," and then all of a sudden that's eaten up way more than 10 minutes. So,
Mhm.
if you can, I think there was a quote that said, "Discipline eats motivation for breakfast." So if you can create that routine and the discipline to, here's my PM list of things that I can do that are low stress, easy to do, like laying out the workout clothes, setting out the book that you want to read in the morning, prepping the coffee maker, or, creating the space for meditation. I should say I don't pop out of bed at 5 in the morning. I get up and I do 15 minutes of meditation before I get out of bed. Then I have 15 minutes to change and get down to the workout, but the clothes are ready. So I just have to go down, grab whatever the protein shake or whatever you want to add to that. But I notice the days when I don't have that set out, if everything is ready, it just flows so much faster. If I already know what my workout is in the morning, then I can just go and I don't have to think about it. The more I have to think about, I just finished a 50-day program. And so this week, she said, is like free choice for you. And you can use any of the workouts in her app. But I didn't decide that last night what I was going to do, so then I'm like, "Well, there's so many things. What could I do today?" And then that eats up more time, whereas I always just know if it's day 48, tomorrow is 49, and I just do whatever she says for the next so many minutes. So that will help, and we're not certainly saying that everybody should start with getting up at 5 because everybody's life is different. Some are already up at 5 and at the hockey rink to take kids to practice because that happens early. But I like that idea of, is there 10 minutes that you could find in the morning just for you if that's coffee and just settling into your day. Some people like to journal in the morning. Building those habits will make that difference. And it, like you said, it's not that you just wake up at 5 ready to go. I'm sure there's some people that are super excited to hop out of bed at 5. And some days it certainly gets easier. And then other days it's still just the decision to get out of bed and to get going. But those 10 minutes that you could do in the morning that can kind of set you up for the rest of the day will make quite a difference there. The other thing I was going to say is the research on creating a streak. So what you're doing in the habit tracker is, I listened to a TED Talk by, I think it was the creators of Duolingo, And so in Duolingo, a lot of apps do this now. Snapchat will do it for the kids. You have so many day streak connecting with somebody else. But the research on how creating a streak impacts your brain, once you get going and you've hit a certain number, you don't want to lose that streak. So you will figure out how to do your 10 minutes of whatever, or 5 minutes, 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening. But there is some pretty powerful brain research behind that, creating that streak and seeing it build. So that visual of that. And once you hit a certain number, then you just wouldn't miss it because you do not want to restart. The other thing I like that you mentioned was the accountability piece. It's really powerful to have somebody else to check in with, somebody to help keep you focusing on what you can do next. Or sometimes we get stuck in a little bit of a rut and somebody else's perspective can be like, hey, maybe it seems like you weren't making any gains, but you just did this 5 days in a row. So that's a win in itself. And so sometimes we just need that little bit of perspective to keep going. And so the other thing that you mentioned in your Netta presentation was an elite mindset. So we've talked about mindset, but what's the difference between a mindset and an elite type of mindset? And how can that help to shift? Or is that sort of what we've already mentioned?
I think it's a lot like, yeah, like we've talked about, and just developing those strategies like we've talked about that are going to make you successful, and just like starting small. Like I look at the book, I don't know if you've read the book, The Compound Effect, and that is just
I don't think I have
little
read that
by
one.
little by little. Like one story that really relates to me is, would you rather have a penny a day that doubles for a month, or have $5 million right away? And it ends up in those 31 days that you're going to get $10 million if you keep doubling each day. And it's like, people want instant gratification. Okay, so I did my 10-minute workout in my AM routine for 5 days and I haven't lost any weight, for example.
Yes.
Or, hey, I'm not feeling better. It's still hard for me to get up. Instead of like just stacking days, I always say stack day today plus today plus today, and you're going to eventually see a difference. It might take 5 months down the road, but if we keep stacking days, okay, I think that's where we're talking about going from that mindset of just until that like elite mindset of, okay, I'm going to continue to do this. All right. And keep stacking on those days. I don't know. I think I'm just like a living breed of it. Like I've had success now and it's taken a lot of time, and just
Yeah.
my mindset and my positive self-talk and those things are so much better because of just the strategies that I'm doing. And that's kind of where I am passionate about this and want other people to know and be like, hey, it does work. Trust me.
Good.
Like my mindset has changed so much over like the last 12 months. And so that's why I kind of just want to get the word out there, and just have to kind of, like everyone always says, trust this process. But it's
Yeah.
so true. It's all about the process. Like working with individuals and or off topic or like athletes, and that's all about like,
Yeah.
oh, did you win? Did you win? But it's like, no, did you play to the standard? If you play to
Yeah.
the standard every day and do those things, the results are going to take care of itself. You can play like crap and still win, or you can play
Yes.
awesome and lose. But if you continue to just play to that standard, kind of like just as in life, you each day can win your morning and do those things and stack those days, the results are going to come. And yeah, so that's a great book, and just talks all about like compounding like, day after day, and eventually you will see those results.
And I think that's a really good reminder for us. It's not the super big change that you make all in one day or the massive goal that you set. It's that you pick one thing and you do that every day. So whether that's your morning routine or your evening routine, or one thing you're looking at within your educational practice, this is one thing that I'm going to focus on for this next little bit. And I'm just going to level that up every little bit. And I'm going to keep being consistent. There was a quote that I think we chatted about before, I think by FM Alexander. It said, people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. So that would tie into that compound effect. It's those little things that you do each day that may seem really insignificant. And I think one of the people I follow said, sometimes it seems really boring. The success is actually in the boring things that you do consistently over and over. It's the fact that you took those 10 minutes, you make the choice to listen to something positive, you make the choice to shift how you talk to yourself about that. And the person that we hear the most is our own voice in our own head. And that how we phrase things to ourselves can help us to see opportunities in what's coming, can help us to be ready for those days. And it's not to say that positive self talk will won't make the days harder. We're always going to encounter those ups and downs in life, but we can build our resilience and we can rebound a little bit faster and find ways to look for the opportunities within that. So, with positive self-talk, are there any phrases that have you found helpful as an educator or in the morning routine that are good things? Some people talk about affirmations, some people have goals that they would put on sticky notes and they read those every day. Are there some phrases that are helpful that work for us as teachers looking after ourselves, but would also make a difference when we work them into our language for the students that we see, our children at home, our family members?
Yeah, great questions. I always wear, I don't know if you can see it, but I have 2 bracelets on, and one says body language. So something I gotta make sure that I'm bringing a positive body language. Another one is just a bracelet that says the word good. And it's like a 2.5 minute YouTube video on his name Jocko Willink, just talks about any situation like good. Maybe you get a bad phone call home from a parent. Good. This is an opportunity to learn from this and get better next time. Or hey, maybe a student, for example, I think in gym is not wanting to participate. Good. I got the next 8 months to figure out a way, work on some strategies to get them to hopefully participate one day instead of always just looking at the negative, like, oh, they're not motivated. What am I going to do? I can't help them. And trying to turn that around. And it's tough at times, but it's just something that I have as reminders that way. Another good strategy that I use is I call it my yellow red release. So
Okay.
for example, I use a green light, yellow light, red light. So we're driving our brand new vehicle going to Melfort, Saskatchewan, going through the lights. If it's green light, we're going right through, right? If it's yellow light, we're slowing down a little, but we're still probably going through. If it's red, we're stopped. So my goal as an educator is not to get the red light. So when it's green, everything's good. I'm having a good day. Maybe I had an awesome lesson. Things were awesome. Kids were motivated. Kids were moving around. Life's good,
Yep.
right? So if I get to yellow, okay, maybe there was a couple things that went wrong and some things I can improve. If I get to red, maybe it just wasn't good and there's lots of negativity and I'm just really frustrated. So whenever I'm in yellow, I call it, like you said, my yellow red release. So what I do is it's called you do something physical. So I always just touch my chain, for example, do something physical. And then I
Mhm.
have to look at a vocal points. Okay. So I just look at my feet, meaning when I think of that, I think of being present, being where my feet are. And then I just say the word good on my hand. Good. All right. This is an opportunity. Okay. Let's go. And just taking that 5 seconds it takes to do allows me to kind of get back into that green instead of going down to that red where now I'm kind of out of control. I'm frustrated and I'm not going to be a good teacher and things are not going to be good for the students and everything that way is not going to be a positive class. So my goal is to, whenever I am in yellow, take that 5 seconds of my day. I call it flush it, release it, get rid
Yeah.
of it, back to present. Forget about it. All right, let's move on. Okay, good. Let's make the best of the situation. And it's really worked for me. And that's like for example, my last thing I do every day in my AM routine when I walk in the auditorium doors. Some people might think
Yeah.
I'm crazy because I put my hands up, take a breath, and then touch
Yeah.
my chain and then look at my feet. All right, I'm present. Okay, now I'm out of dad mode. I'm into, hey, I'm a school teacher mode. Good. Let's attack this day. Let's bring energy. Let's be positive. All the things that I can control, right?
Yes.
My attitude, my effort, my preparation, which is huge. So they don't take any skill. Okay. Things that I have 100% control over. So I need to bring those each and every day. And am I perfect? No. Is there areas I need to improve? You bet. But if I can just have that start of that just in my mindset, in my head, and know like when it's time, like, okay, I know I'm getting frustrated. Okay. As an educator, how can I just get back to that and have that strategy is huge for me instead of getting more frustrated and then just ruins the whole class environment that way. And even if I do sometimes get really frustrated, then I always reflect back. I'm like, yeah, I have this skill. I need to do it more because when I do it, it just helps me with like, yeah, having that positive self-talk and just keeping my energy level up, which is, I think, key for performance.
Here are a few key takeaways from today's conversation with Dennis. First, mindset isn't fixed. It's built through small choices and everyday strategies. As Dennis reminded us, life is not a talent game. Life is a strategy game. And that strategy starts with noticing where you are and choosing the next right step. Second, we heard how routines shape our energy. Whether it's 10 minutes of movement, prepping the night before, or winning the morning, these habits remove stress and create space for us and our students to thrive. And third, the power of reframing. Dennis's yellow-red release reminds us that we can reset at any moment. Take a breath, be where our feet are, and say, this is an opportunity. If today's conversation sparked something in you, you're going to want to keep listening. In part 2, we go deeper into mindset, resilience, and practical tools you can use in your classroom and in your daily life right away. See you in the next episode. Thank you for joining our community of innovators and change makers. We hope the conversations and stories have ignited a spark within. We'd like to express our gratitude to our dedicated Northeast educators. Until next time, remember to subscribe to Any Voices and join us on the next episode as we share the stories of learning shaping our future. Thanks for listening.